ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Well, Roundtable family, how you doing? Thank you for watching us on Broadway World over here on the Broadway Podcast Network. You know, when I moved to Detroit 6 months ago, one of the landmark places that I wanted to see, because I grew up with this VHS tape that my grandmother had of Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Liza Minnelli at the Fox Theater right in the middle of downtown Detroit. And I wanted to see this beautiful lit up marquee. I was dying to see it. And when you see it, let me tell you, there is not a theater in this country that is as beautiful as the Fox Theater in Detroit. And there is not a band that is more iconic and more legendary than the Beatles. No matter where you're from, no matter what age, you know, love, and are obsessed with all of this music. So get your kids, get your wife, your husband, your friend, your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whoever you're with, and come on. There's not many tickets left either. There's only a few. So Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. Let's go. Rain is coming to Detroit. And Steve, who's singing and playing the John Lennon part of the show, is here with us. Steve Landis, welcome to the show.
Hey, Robert. How you doing?
I said to you before, I sneak a little Sgt. Pepper moment over your shoulder.
Ooh, yeah. Look at that. There it is.
Look at this. Come on, people. I am here for this whole entire show and these pictures of what Rain is. Steve, how long have you been doing Rain?
Oh, man, I have been in the show for like half my life. I joined in 98 when it was just a cabaret act. And then we put together the whole theater show and then finally wound up on Broadway and then the West End and been doing the theater tours ever since.
That's what I was going to say to you. I remember it coming from New York on Broadway. And I remember it was the whirlwind that was the production, because you guys are not just a group that sings Beatles music. You are a full-fledged this is a show.
Exactly. As you can see from the pictures, I mean, you got the four guys in the front sounding like the Beatles, acting like the Beatles, doing the Liverpoolian accents and all that sort of stuff. But then around us, it's almost like sets that move on the screen, because back when we were on Broadway, we had actual physical sets that kind of looked like the Ed Sullivan stage, but then that had to stay that way. So after we started doing the touring production, we wanted to switch things up, and we were like, how can we really upgrade this while still keeping the authenticity? So we came up with these LED screens that completely surround us and encapsulate the band. And with that, we can throw up images of the Ed Sullivan show, the Shea Stadium concert, as you see, like the Sgt. Pepper album cover, the Abbey Road album cover, the Let It Be rooftop. So we can literally take the audience to these iconic places from the Beatles' career in a snap of the fingers, and it looks, like you're there.
It's almost like if the Beatles were on tour in 2025 with the technology and with what you could do on a stage, where they never got to perform with LED screens and the lighting and the sound systems that we have now in existence in 2025. And you get to see your childhood and the music you loved growing up really come to life. I want people to know it's March 21st. It's at the Fox Theater, and it is going to be Sgt. Pepper's and Magical Mystery Tour, but also all your favorite hits. So it's a big old show, and you could go to 313presents.com and get your tickets. So you could get your tickets right there, 313presents.com. And if you're not in the Detroit area, but you found this moment together, you can always go to raintribute.com, because you guys, how many shows do you do a year?
Oh, man, we travel, I'd say about a third of the year with buses and trucks, and take the whole show out on the road, do all these theaters. And then from there, just, one-nighters here and there. So we're always trying to bring the Beatles to the audiences out there, because peace and love, that's what the Beatles were all about. It's a positive message. And I'm really grateful that the Beatles music had such positivity. I see people in the audience just like tears of joy and nostalgia and relevance. I mean, their message is more relevant now than ever. So it's a really positive feeling that this music brings forth. So yeah, it's fun to get out there and do it for everyone.
I was going to ask you, because I'm sure you get people who come up to you after the show and they are moved, where they never had it, or reminds them of someone they love or a time in their life, or you see grandparents and grandbabies and moms and dads bringing their kids, and the music lives through generations. It must be amazing to look out and see the faces of the people who come to see you all.
Yeah, especially at matinees when there's a lot of kids, we'll see, the people who grew up during the time, during the 60s. So, they're that age, and now they have kids, and now their kids have kids. And so it's like you see the little kids and their parents all singing along and swaying to the music, na 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 na, hey Jude. And it's like it just reminds you that this music is for anybody and forever, and it's inclusive. It brings everyone together, and that's the power of this heartfelt music.
Well, I want people, like we keep talking about it, to go to 313 Presents, because like I said, there are not many tickets left for this night. I was on Ticketmaster and I was on the website. You guys sell a lot of tickets. You guys pack them in. The demand for this music and for the great production and the sound that you got. You're not lip syncing. You're not playing to track. You're playing live.
Yeah, for better, for worse, got to keep those voices safe and everything. Yeah, it's so funny. We, when you're a band, if you want to sing it a certain way one night, sing it a little bit differently, save your voice, maybe not go for the high notes, you can do that. But we have to sound just like the Beatles records every single night. Every single high note, hit everything the way it's supposed to be on that one performance they gave on the recording. And people expect it, and we're happy to do it. But yeah, it's definitely one of those chores of the show.
Wow. So one of the big questions I'm sure you get all the time is there's so much music. There's so many iconic songs. So how do you pick the set list? How do you give the people what they want? What is the set list like?
Well, I think the upside of the Beatles is you really could pick any songs and you're not going to go wrong. Every single song of theirs was great. But I think that's why we hit on including like one of the albums as a part of the show. Like 2017, the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper. We do our usual show. It opens with how the Beatles were introduced to America. February 9, 1964, The Ed Sullivan Show. So you get all the early stuff. We get into the film years and the recording years. And then when we get to that era, 67, we put the whole Sgt. Pepper album in there and then continued on from the rest. And then after that, we did like the Abbey Road album. Then, and this was great because it happened right during the Get Back special on Disney+. We did the Rooftop special, and now we're doing Magical Mystery Tour. So it's the same sort of thing where we do the whole show. If you're a casual Beatles fan and you don't think you know the Magical Mystery Tour album, that's okay. For one thing, you don't realize how many hits there are on there. Magical Mystery Tour itself, Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, All You Need Is Love. It's chock full of hits, that album, even though the film itself, controversy-wise, I'm not sure if it was the Beatles' first flop, but it wasn't like, one of their big hits. But the album itself has all of these great hits. So for one thing, you're going to love that. And of course, even if you don't know that album or don't think you know that album, we do the whole career.
Oh, now you're going to have Penny Lane stuck in my head, because that is come on, there's classics. You're going to hear them all.
Right.
So when you first was discovered, I was reading about you. You learned a lot of these. You self-taught yourself the guitar, and some of the Beatles music is what inspired you originally. How did you come to be a Beatles fan and also become a musician?
Well, I found out about the Beatles the way a lot of people of my generation did. My parents were Beatles fans. And so growing up, their music was, in the house. And so first I became a Beatles fan. And then from that, I wanted to watch all their videos and everything. It was like, oh, cool, playing guitar and drums. That'd be cool. So my dad knew a few chords. So taught me those, and then from there I just listened to the records and tried to pick out, okay, I think he's playing a C chord here and a G chord there. And then from there I started to buy the sheet music and realized, okay, well, that's not going to give me the details. I want to know like what chord inversion John is playing as opposed to George. I want to know like where is he going up on the fretboard, and that's just not the kind of stuff you can learn from sheet music. You have to listen to it. And this is before the days of, YouTube and isolated tracks and, all that sort of stuff. I had to learn how to pick out, okay, I hear two guitars, which one's George and which one's John, the harmonics, and all this sort of stuff. So I think it trained my ear to like pick all this stuff apart, which years later, when I joined first the Beatlemania show that had just come off of Broadway, doing its national tours, and then Rain, that's basically what we do. We just sit down with the recordings and pick apart each subtle detail so that we can then recreate it live on stage.
It's amazing. And we can follow you as well. You're a songwriter, you're a performer as well. So we can make sure you can follow as well. What can you say about the rest of the people that are in this with you? What can you say about the rest of your George and Ringo and the Paul?
Well, for one thing, they're family. I mean, I love these guys. We travel, in a tour bus with each other, and it's like a real camaraderie, which I think translates to the stage because the Beatles were in the same boat. They really loved each other like brothers, and you could feel that on stage. So I think, I think the audience sees that within us too, and it, kind of makes it feel that much more like the Beatles, and it really is true. We've got our new young guy, Dylan Verge. He plays Ringo. He was trained at Berkeley. Great musician, can play everything. Alistair McNeil is our George Harrison. He lives in Hawaii, and so we're all very jealous of him. He travels into the mainland whenever we do the tour. And our Paul McCartney is also named Paul Curatolo. And the cool thing about him, he's got a couple of cool stories. His dad was our original Paul McCartney. When we were on Broadway, it was him. And the only thing about him is he was right-handed. And he used to get a lot of flack for that because Paul, very famous, left-handed player. So when he trained his son, Paul, to be a part of the show, Paul said, yeah, I'll learn everything you got there, but I'm going to do it left-handed. Wow. So he trained himself how to play left-handed. And it still stuns me. I can't imagine doing that.
Steve, that's what you all have done, the dedication you have for the fans, because I know that the fans out there, the fandom of the Beatles is serious. They take this stuff very seriously, as do you. So do you have people that come and see you over and over again? You hear about people who are Rain super fans?
Oh yeah. We've got fans that come to the show that have been coming even before I was in the show. So they're hardcore fans. We've got a group that call themselves the Raindrops that will rent a bus and go to any gig that we're on the East Coast, up and down the coast. They'll follow us, and they get in the audience, and they've made makeshift Sergeant Pepper suits, and they'll wear them, and they'll hold up signs, and it's just the sweetest thing. It really is beautiful to see. And our show is very audience interactive to begin with. We want people to sing along and get up and dance, and so then that brings it to that next degree, that next level, to see them out in the audience having a good time.
I love that so much. It's part concert, part theatrical experience, part party. It's really gonna be a good time, especially here in Detroit. You guys, I'm sure, have done Detroit before. I'm sure you have. This is not your first rodeo.
No, we've been to the Fox quite a few times, and every time it's the best audience. That we're absolutely looking forward to being there again.
Was John Lennon something you chose? Did you have to audition? Was John a favorite? Were you open to being any Beatle? I mean, obviously, I don't think you could be. Maybe you can't be Ringo if you're not a drummer. But was John what you always aspired to be in this group? Do you ever want to sing the Paul part?
I would love to sing the Paul parts, but my vocal range, I'm just naturally a baritone tenor like John Lennon. I have the same range, have the same tonal qualities. Paul McCartney is like a first tenor. His range is unbelievable. And our Paul, he hits those notes like, I don't know how he does it every single night. I wish I had that kind of range, but no, and funny thing is, growing up, when I was a little kid, I always saw the Beatles as like just one thing. And then as I got a little older, just what John Lennon stood for, peace and love and bringing people together, and that side of humanity just really spoke to me. And so John kind of like became my favorite. I don't know. So for whatever reason, and I got kind of the look for it. So it's just turned out that vocally I was right for the John Lennon part. Facially, that one's the closest match. So yeah,
It was meant to be.
Exactly. Yep.
Do you get time to still do your own thing and write music on the road? And I mean, they keep you pretty booked over there at Rain, but I know that I'm sure the Beatles' songwriting inspires your own songwriting, playing these songs.
Oh my God. Yeah. You can't imagine better songwriters. I mean, I get up on stage and these amazing lyrics, come out of my mouth. And it surprises me that not only were they great songwriters, but at such a young age. I mean, John and Paul were like, in their mid-20s when they're writing songs that obviously have stood the test of time. And just, I can't believe sometimes it feels like, they're from another planet or something. How in the world did these guys in their 20s from Liverpool, England, change the world like they did? So, but yeah, when I'm not on tour, I've got a YouTube channel where I put up like covers, everything from like pop stuff to Broadway stuff. I've covered a couple of Broadway things, and yeah, that's pretty much the best way that I can get things out, because I'm busy doing this. So YouTube and stuff online, it's always there.
Well, I want people that are listening, if you are not able to be in Detroit coming up, you look on their website. The dates are there across. You're bouncing, like you're going to California, then bouncing back to the Midwest, then you're going down south. They're all over the place. So no matter where you live in this country or even internationally, the raintribute.com is where you're going to find all of the dates. And then if you're here like me, go to 313 Presents and make sure that you take a peek, because they're coming to into town March 21st, gorgeous Fox Theater, which you have to go and see. And then we can follow and be up to date with all the things that are you, Steve. And then also we can also check out your YouTube channel, which we can link from here, and we'll have all the information below. The original work, the Beatles work, Rain's coming to your town, and all the great music that you're producing, and the love and the joy. We need so much joy. We need joy more than ever.
More than ever. We sure do. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Hopefully our audiences leave our show feeling better than they came. So, and that, again, that's the magic of the Beatles message of peace and love and bringing people together. Give peace a chance. All you need is love. Take a sad song and make it better.
I love that. Oh my God, those lyrics. I need to find myself a Sgt. Pepper's outfit. I got to show up.
There you go.
I don't know if it will fit. I'm going to try to get one. I'm going to try to get one on and try to head my way down to the Fox Theater. I'm going to get my tickets, so you better get your tickets as well. Thank you so much for chatting with us. I'm so excited about this. This looks like such a blast, and it's a real honor to chat with you.
You too, Robert. Thank you.